I'm just going to share a little bit with you about why I'm doing what I'm doing and why my heart is just bleeding for our country. As I stated, I'm just one American. I'm just a regular old guy, small business owner, who's seen regulation of government oppressed on us. My business is down 70% in the last 2 years. We're struggling, but we're holding on, and God, and I believe in God, and I believe that God inspired our founding fathers just like He inspired the vision for this ride. And I believe that the vision for this ride came to me when I was turning on my 50th birthday. It was August 9, 2009. Every year on my birthday, I jump on my bike and I ride to the mountains and I do a little searching out, with the old soul in the mind, and get next to a stream somewhere and I pitch my tent and I just, I'm just out there with nature, God. I go to Spruce Knob, West Virginia, which is the highest point in West Virginia. You get on top of Spruce Knob and you literally can see for 360 degrees all mountaintops, just like this. Green, beautiful mountaintops. It's an incredible vision. So the following weekend on August 15th is when I did this ride, because my family gave me a big, nice surprise for my 50th, which it wasn't a surprise, but you know how that goes. I turned 50, it wasn't a surprise. So as I stood there, that's where I got the vision, first of all, to do something across our nation, and to try to be one person willing to sacrifice and to stand up and do something. So I still didn't have all the stuff worked out in my mind, but as time went on, it developed, and I was able to really grasp a hold of this Constitution right across America and go into every state capital that I could go to. So I've worked it out. Everybody that's involved in it is on a volunteer basis. My website's done by a guy that's on a volunteer basis. I have a friend of mine who is retired, is running my business for me, all volunteer, doesn't want a dime while I'm gone, because he supports what I'm doing. But it doesn't take everybody to do a 14, 15, 16,000 mile bike ride around the country to make a difference. Our founding fathers, they all came together some 11 plus years in 1787 in the month of May in Philadelphia at the Constitution Convention. When they gathered there, they gathered to create a document for us, the citizens, that would protect us as citizens. So over that 4-month period between May and September 17, 1787 is when the Constitution of the United States, and let me correct myself, I just made a mistake. It's the Constitution for the United States of America. Did you realize that today in the literature, most of it is saying the Constitution of, but there's a difference. Our founding fathers, it was the Constitution for the United States of America. For, of, there's a difference in those two words. Of means past and present. For means past, present, and future. We had some very, very smart gentlemen working on the Constitution. And when they came to an impasse, and we talked about how God was an influence, when they came to an impasse, even before it was signed, and they couldn't agree, they got together in prayer. They got together on their knees and they prayed, and God held them together. They allowed it to happen. That's why that document, the Constitution for the United States of America, is inspired by God. Just like a lot of things that are going on, the ride, the vision, everything, inspired by God. God has opened doors for this you would not ever believe that's happened. But we're here today to not only talk about the Constitution and to know that we want to make sure it's upheld, but we're here today because there's come a time in our nation, and this is a changing time in our nation, believe it or not. It is a changing time. All throughout history, there's a specific time where things change. This is it in America today. But what are we going to do as a nation? What are we going to do as individual citizens to make a difference? The wind blew the sign over, and that's okay. What are we going to do as individual citizens to make a difference in our nation? Do you know? Do you have an answer? Do you know it's more than carrying signs and holding rallies? It really is. My personal opinion, I think it's time that we put the signs down, we get past our anger, and it's time we get to work as citizens. Now, how are we going to do that? Alan mentioned, from the ground up, steps right into what I was going to talk about. The foundation is started at the bottom, and the bottom is our local board of supervisors or city council, whatever you have in your locality, whatever they call it. It's your obligation as a citizen to be there every time they meet, to understand and know what's going on. If you go at month after month after month after month, and I can tell you, for years I never did, but May 2009, I committed to be there every meeting. I committed. It's just one person. I sacrificed other things in life to make a difference. And how am I going to do it if I don't get myself involved and be out there? So every single time they meet, with the exception of being on this ride, I've been at every Board of Supervisors meeting in Chesterfield County, Virginia since May of 2009. Not only have I been there, but I've heard, I've listened, I've learned. That's how you're going to learn, is by being involved in it. When they have public hearings, if I agree or disagree, I want to speak. I want to have the opportunity to share my feelings as a citizen of Chesterfield County, Virginia. You have that same right. Now I'm going to tell you ahead of time in case you've never been to one. They can get boring. They really can, you know. But you know what? If you go to every single meeting, next thing you know, they're going to start paying attention to the fact that you're there. And they're going to start talking to you. You don't even have to really go up to them. I guarantee you they'll start talking to you. Because they're going to notice. In my cell phone, I have the phone numbers of every Board of Supervisor in Chesterfield County. At any time, I can text them or call them if I have a question. And you know that they're already calling me for different things that they want to know about. Because I have a pretty good pulse of what's happening in my county. Been there for 51 years. They know I'm involved, and they know I hear about stuff from the citizens. So when something comes up, they call me. And you know, that's all you got to do. Just be there. God takes care of the rest. God opens the doors. He plants every seed that needs to be planted. And speaking of seed, our education is like a seed. If we educate ourselves, that seed, if you put it in the ground and you nurture it, it grows up to a nice stand of wheat. If you don't, it grows into what? A weed. Everything in soil, everything, that soil is not going to be barren. It's going to grow something. Even in the desert, I saw a whole bunch of that, what do you call it, weed?
Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed, there you go. Something's going to grow. But education is where we got to, as a nation, as people who really care about our country, education is what we have to do. We have to sacrifice. That means we have to start not putting so much emphasis on the NASCAR races or the LSU football games. Now, y'all think it's funny, but I'm telling you, it's the truth. We have to stand up now as a nation. If we don't, you're not going to have the privilege to go to an LSU football game. You know that? Do you realize that?
Yes, sir.
It's changing that rapidly. Do we want that as a nation? Absolutely not. And I love NASCAR and I love the University of Virginia. And I went to football games for 10 years. But you know what? I had to step away if I'm going to make a difference. You got to be in the position. You got to be there if you're going to make that difference. You got to sacrifice. You got to do without. Our prosperity as a nation, and not that prosperity is bad, please don't get me wrong, but our prosperity as a nation has ruined us and made us passive. We've gotten into this mode of making money instead of paying attention to what's happening in our government. Now we have to change that. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. But it's going to take us all being a part and being involved of our government. We can never, ever let happen what's happened in the last few decades to our country again. And I'm telling you, I'm on the front line. I'm leading the way. And I was the very one that I'm talking to. Because I'm guilty of that. But as long as I can do it as an American citizen, I'm going to stand up for our nation and our Constitution and make sure that we protect our freedom and our liberty. There's a lot of things that we can do, but the most important is those citizens' involvement in our Board of Supervisors meetings. Now, every year, y'all ever go through a budget situation here? You know, you have budget hearings and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Well, in Chesterfield County, Virginia, on May of 2009, we had a budget public hearing. And what happens at those? The walls are lined. Everybody's coming in and they want their piece of the pie, right? I mean, 200 people got up and spoke at that meeting. 200 people. I waited to the very last person. I made sure everybody spoke and said what they wanted to speak, and I sat right on the end of the seat there. So once that last one spoke, I could stand up and say what I wanted to say. I didn't say one word about the budget because I've already was informed about the budget because I'd been at every meeting. I'd been in tune with what's going on. I got up and I literally turned around and looked at every citizen in that hall that night. And I told them, I said, look, 12 months out of the year, these seats are here. You should be here to be involved in your government because this is exactly what we're trying to stop right now. Is everybody coming in here wanting their little piece of pie. Now, people wouldn't have to what's got to take. But we wouldn't be in the shape we were in today if people were involved in government. Well, I'm taking the reins for my responsibility, me and my family. And I'm going to try to do everything I can to make that difference. There's two words that we as citizens have to understand when we step forth to make this difference. It's faith and it's fear. You know, the only reason we have fear is because we don't have the knowledge we need to have. If you have knowledge, you will gain not only respect, but you also will gain a whole lot of confidence. And confidence will give you a boldness to step up and say stuff at those meetings as a citizen.